The Kia Stinger is the most hyped car of 2017, bringing a twin turbocharged engine, engaging rear-wheel drive dynamics and eye-catching styling in a package that picks up where Australian muscle cars left off. When you start the Stinger up and go for a drive, it really doesn't feel like a particularly special engine. Though it looks quite heroic on paper, this motor is quiet and refined and fairly anonymous in the way that it goes about its business. Now, to a lot of people that's a good thing, but if you're an enthusiast, you might feel a little bit let down by the lack of character in this motor. It really is a very quiet engine. What you can do is pop it into sports mode. There's a little dial down here, and then you get some fake engine noise coming through the cabin, which is not my favourite thing. But it does lend a little more occasion to the car, and Kia is also working on an aftermarket exhaust to make it sound better. What they don't need to work on is its punch, because this is quite a quick car. Priced from $55,990 plus on-road costs in mid-spec SI form, the Stinger is powered by a 3.3-litre twin-turbo V6 that brings 272 kilowatts of power and 510 Nm of torque, driving the rear wheels through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's the first rear-wheel drive Kia that we've seen before. The SI has plenty of gear, including sat-nav, leather trim, Apple CarPlay and active cruise control. Some of that you will not find on the Commodore. Look, there's no doubt that the Stinger offers plenty of pace. If it's a quick sedan that you're looking for, then this is a car that really will fit that bill. But it's just not as exciting as it could be. The engine just lacks a little bit of that character, that rich sound, and even the way that the V8 Commodore delivers its power. It's in a real crescendo at the top of the tacho, where as you rev the car harder, it delivers more performance, whereas the Kia just feels a bit linear and flat, really. It doesn't feel like a genuine performance engine. I've got mixed feelings about the Stinger's engine. It offers plenty of performance without a lot of character. What I don't have mixed feelings about is its automatic transmission. The 8-speed auto in here really does let the side down. It does a pretty poor job of picking the right gear for any situation. I often found the car just waiting and waiting and then wanting to kick down to deliver power well after I actually wanted it to. And if you take control by the paddle shifters and sort of try and pick the right gear, then it quickly overrides you as well. If you're coming up to a nice series of S's and you drop to, say, 3rd gear, the car will let you have it for a few seconds and then it will change its mind and give you 5th or 6th gear instead. Really not what you want as a driver. If you want to be in control of a car, the Stinger is not the right tool for that. Out on the open road, the Kia is a fairly impressive place to be. The version that we're driving now has fixed rate suspension, so it doesn't have the multi-mode suspension of the more expensive GT, but that's not such a bad thing. It feels fairly composed, the ride is pretty decent, and it just does a good job of getting around from A to B. When you press on a little bit, it could use some more body control in the way that the Commodore is able to really cop hills and crests and things like that without pitching around too much. The Kia does feel a little loose over some of that, but for the most part, this is quite an accomplished car. When you tip into the bend, the Kia has very light steering. It doesn't have as much feel and feedback and meatiness that the Commodore does. The Commodore really does have world-class front-end feedback in it. It feels better than something like a BMW to drive, to steer, whereas the Kia is pretty much middle of the road. It's not too bad, it's not absolutely fantastic. It's not really going to be a deal breaker for anybody. While the Kia tips in nicely to a bend and has solid grip throughout a corner, it is a little bit interesting after the apex. The Kia struggles to get all of its power to the ground. Now, it's got narrower tyres than the Commodore and they're not quite as aggressive in their compound as well, which means that the rubber really doesn't do a great job of getting all of that power down to the road. That means that the car can feel a little bit skatey. When you come out of a corner on the throttle, the Kia is more likely to break loose and have a bit of a shimmy and make you feel like there's interesting things happening beneath you. If you're comfortable with that, if you're an enthusiast driver, then you'll probably really like that. It is certainly a lot of fun to have a play with. We put the Stinger and Redline to the test with real-world dashes to 100 kilometers an hour. Tested in 6-speed auto form, the Commodore reeled off consistent 5.1 second times for the sprint. The Kia was a little trickier, bringing inconsistent runs closer to 6 seconds before it matched the Commodore's 5.1 second time. We also used the same microphone gear to record sounds from each car. They couldn't be more different. you get into the Commodore, it's all about that engine. Oh, that's fantastic. I've lived with quite a few of these now, and when you get up, go about your day and get into the car, press the starter button, the way that it roars into life is just a wonderful way to start your morning. I really do like that. This is a car with real character. Look, it only just matches the Stinger for pace, even though it has more power, and that's down to the way that the Stinger delivers its power. The Stinger has more torque throughout the rev range. It's got that constant shove, whereas the Commodore, you have to work for it. You have to go in search of that power and torque by giving the engine a good old rev, and when you do, man, it delivers. Not just in terms of performance, but in terms of feel factor.
Priced from $54,990 plus on-road costs, Holden's Commodore SSV Redline is one of the great Australian performance cars. What you're paying for is mainly under the bonnet, a 6.2-litre V8 engine that produces 304 kilowatts and 575 newton meters, more on paper at least than the Kia.
Unlike the Kia, the Holden is available with a choice of manual or automatic transmissions. The car that we're using to film today is a manual, but we've also tested the Stinger against a automatic version. Both are a little more engaging than the Kia. Of course, a manual is very hard to beat from a driver's perspective, but the automatic in the Commodore is quite good as well. It's only a 6-speed version, but it comes with paddle shifters that actually follow what you tell them to do. If you tell the car, I want second gear for this corner, it'll give you second gear and it will hold second gear. And that's really important to me, that a car isn't trying to override my choices and decisions as a driver. Holden really did put a lot of effort into the sound of this car, and you can feel the fruit of their labour. The SS has a special exhaust and intake combo that deliver the right kind of rumble through to the cabin, and you can hear the difference and you can feel the difference. The Kia feels like you're watching somebody play Gran Turismo on a PlayStation. The Commodore feels like you're trackside at the V8 supercars. You can really feel that rumble and crackle through the car. It just has so much more character that you just want to keep driving it. But the SSV Redline is about so much more than the engine. You can get that kind of punch from any V8 Commodore. This one though has special attention paid to things like its suspension and braking systems to deliver the best possible driver's car. And again, you can feel the work that Holden has put in there. This is a car with just sensational balance. You've got constant feedback from the front end that really gives you a lot of confidence when you place the car. It's got immense traction as well. Holden's done an excellent job of getting that power to the rear end. It's got wider wheels on the rear than it does the front, and much wider tyres than the Kia, which really do help keep all of that power in check. The Holden's braking system, Brembo brakes at the front and rear, also feel a little bit better than the Stingers. I think there's a bit more feel through the pedal, and they just give me some more confidence when I'm pressing on. I think that Holden has done an outstanding job with this car, and it's really going to be a shame to miss it. The Commodore is much more of an event to drive. This really is a special car to take out for a fang on a Sunday morning. The Kia though is definitely an all-rounder. It's a car that is quiet and accomplished, and it has so much more tech and safety systems and things like that that you really can't ignore it. The Kia is a different car to the Commodore, and that's okay. This Commodore SSV Redline really is unlike anything else on the road. It was only like one other car really, and that was the Falcon XR8, and those are long gone.
The Stinger is a breath of fresh air. In a world of increasingly autonomous cars, electric motors and SUVs, it's positive to see car companies are still keen to build driver-focused machines. In a way, the Stinger is a little like the Toyota 86. This is a passion project where brand building is just as important as sales numbers. The last generation of Australian muscle cars certainly are special machines, visceral, well-sorted vehicles with emotional pull to match their performance prowess. The last generation of Australian muscle cars truly are special machines, visceral, well-sorted vehicles with emotional pull to match their performance prowess. It truly is a shame that we are losing these cars. The Stinger and Commodore both have plenty going for them. There's no winner or loser here. The Kia makes much more sense with its superior tech and strong warranty. It's the car that you'd choose with your head. But as an Australian car lover, the V8 Commodore pulls at the heartstrings in a way that the Kia just can't match.
If this is the kind of car that you're interested in, this Redline, you've got to hurry up and get one. They are really not going to be around for very long at all. And that's such a shame. The Kia Stinger is an excellent car, particularly as it's the brand's first crack at this type of vehicle, a genuine sports sedan. But it can't match the Commodore SSV Redline for driving thrills.